This question, along with the challenges that Poland faces today, were few of the topics discussed by a panel of experts at the Kosciuszko Foundation Economic Conference held in New York City on September 27, 2013.
Why would we hold this conference here at the Kosciuszko Foundation? Well, in 1925, a Harvard economist named Stephen Mierzwa set up the foundation to educate Poles from Poland who could go back and make change. Over the past 2 decades, Poland has grown at a record pace. Poland is the only country in the EU that has not suffered a recession since the beginning of the worldwide financial crisis in 2008. Polish workers used to travel abroad to where the factories are. These days, they bring the factories to where the Polish workers are.
There is a Polish phenomena of a growing dynamic country that did not go through any recession when the rest of the Eurozone countries went through recession over the last 5 or 6 years. Poland is a very dynamic country with a talent base, with a move towards analytics, towards manufacturing and traditional agriculture, with windows into both the West and the East.
If we look at the Polish banking sector, we can see that, once again, building on the experiences, building on the actions taken, on some of the restructuring that was done, the sector is well positioned to benefit from the envisaged growth. If the analysts are talking about an expected double-digit growth in loans over the next couple of years, Poland very much being at the forefront of that growth in Central Eastern Europe, together with Russia, interestingly enough. That growth very much being driven by the 3, if you like, engines of growth of GDP, very important in terms of effective strategic planning for the banks as well. Growth in exports, growth in domestic consumption, which we're starting to see pick up in Poland, and something we're also waiting for, which is the beginning of a growth in terms of corporate investment. There's an expectation that will also evolve in the coming months.
Polish capital market was a common and all-nation success. And what we have achieved in past 22 years, i.e. building from the scratch the stock exchange, which is the 7th largest in Europe in terms of market capitalization, and still growing, and in its region, i.e. in the Central East Europe, is actually the largest stock exchange with a 47% of capitalization of the CE capital markets.
We are really optimistic. I think that what makes some kind of difference is actually this optimistic approach and probably entrepreneurial spirit, which is probably a little differentiating us as a nation vis-a-vis other countries in CE region.
What's interesting to see, and I once again don't want to venture into some of the discussion will follow, but is that the SMEs have been able to effectively diversify from an over-dependence on the EU and specifically on Germany. We often hear that the Polish economy is all about export to Germany. So to a significant extent that is true, but you have had, I would say, a development of other markets as well, and the entrepreneurial spirit that was already referred to here, I think has taken the Polish companies far and wide, truly across the world.
Currently, the fund is focusing a lot on the emerging markets because this is where the most of the changes in the global economy happen now. There is a lot of analysis going forward, and in all of them, basically, the Polish situation has been showed as a kind of outstanding.
From the capital markets perspective, it is difficult actually to see that the capital market has been affected by the crisis. In years 2006, 2012, Polish market capitalization grew by 19%. In the same time, all other EU membership state stock exchanges capitalization dropped by 20%.
And the second point was well positioned not only to weather the storm of 2008-2009, with no Polish bank actually failing, no Polish bank requiring a bailout by the government, but also has positioned the Polish banking industry well to mitigate the headwinds which we continue to experience both in Poland as well as in the region, as well as globally, including here once again in the US. It's safe to say that the Polish banking sector, based on the actions that were taken over the past 5 years, is well positioned to not only mitigate those headwinds, but actually to leverage the opportunities that are out there and achieve sustainable growth going forward.
Poland has requested in support, which was mentioned by Michał Mrożek a second ago, for the flexible credit line, which is an instrument which the fund created for the best managed countries in the world, and Poland, among other two countries, qualified for it.
Poland, although in size of territory and population, is very similar to Spain. In terms of territory, it is almost exactly like New Mexico. But what is important is that actually almost 70% of GDP is being generated by small and medium-sized companies.
The national champions are about taking care about creation large companies in Poland with headquarters in Poland. We would like actually to support the process of establishing, of development of the large corporates in our countries.
The perception in the fund is that the Polish economy is really strong and it is really well managed, and therefore they provided us with this instrument which is fully unconditional. What has been achieved already in Poland, achieving the level of wealth which is currently there, the actions were done very well. However, we have to put in place a new model of growth, which includes more of research and development and technological science.
We are here to help, to support, to attract, and to take care also about some risks related to this type of projects, usually, to be very honest with you, generated by administration. Yeah?
The company that I work for, Standard & Poor's, has an office of 40 people, which include PhDs in mathematics, economics, data analytics, and physics, providing research and outsourcing for global financial institutions from Poland. And that wasn't where we took jobs from another place. That was part of our expansion plan, was to open an office and take advantage of the high quality of the talent and the people in the Polish market.
20-year miracle ongoing, that it's the only European economy that has not contracted in 20 years. The economy even grew by 1/5 over the last 5 years of the Euro crisis.
The latest report on so-called Global Competitiveness Report of the World Economic Forum shows that Poland has the 42nd position out of 150 countries, and only Estonia from our region is before Poland. So we are on the 42nd worldwide, however the second most competitive in our region.
Standard Motor was really founded by two immigrant families back in 1919, as Matthew said, one of which actually came from Poland. The Polish business that we now operate began in 1970 as a state-owned company to manufacture TV sets for the entire Eastern Bloc. We now employ in the auto parts business some 300 people. We export our products all over the world. We have 30 engineers among the 300 people. We have an operating factory space of 60,000 square feet. 60% of the sales are to the aftermarket, our basic business, but importantly, 40% of our sales are to the original equipment manufacturers. You can't do that unless the stuff is really good.
There's over 700 U.S. companies invested in Poland. Approximately half of them belong to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. During the past 20 years, approximately $22 billion in direct foreign investment has been made into Poland by U.S. investors.
Where's growth in the world going to come from? It's going to come from high growth emerging markets. So Poland as an emerged market needs to think, economic diplomacy. What's the strategy around connecting to these markets and not only helping your company go into 50 markets or another company going into Ethiopia, but how do you get, figuratively speaking, Ethiopia into Poland more robustly?
Poland is the only country in the European Union that has always had positive growth. For the most part, American investors are treated just as Polish investors.
We got over 30 stores right now in the U.S. We entered the market 4 years ago. And it's been 8 years since we started. We achieved this without any loans. What's the reason but that banks don't like us? And no outside investors, and we also do not need any outsourcing.
Why Poland for us, for Standard Motor? And we get very highly qualified engineers at relatively low cost on a world scale. And if your business is re-engineering somebody else's original part and making it better, you really need high-quality engineers. So that's one of the fundamental reasons. The educational system for us has proven to be outstanding. Our people in this plant, and I'm only speaking for them, but I know it's true of Poland in general, have a really good entrepreneurial instinct. They understand the game of business, and they're making it work for all of us.
Safe financial sector. That was, during the previous discussion, it was emphasized that thanks to the safe and transparent financial banking sector, we avoided the crisis in Poland. Let me emphasize once again, Poland is the only European Union country that avoided recession. And cumulatively, our GDP for the last 5-6 years reaches almost 25%.
And I asked an American company, a European company, and a Chinese company. And these are quite different kinds of people and quite different kinds of companies, all in three different industries. And again, these are multinational companies in Poland. And without exception, all of them, and we've heard it all morning, were very optimistic, not only and proud of the past, but also optimistic about the future, given the talent in the marketplace, the size of the market, particularly in context of the neighborhood. Right? Poland competes in an interesting neighborhood. Poland has a very healthy, stable banking system that avoided crisis. We talked about that this morning, so that's been very helpful. The entrepreneurial spirit, again, connected to the talent in the marketplace. So all the points of feedback were, number one, consistent, number two, quite optimistic about the future.
We have been both society, politicians, public opinion, generally speaking, we have been committed to continue changes. It's not that easy, but we have done a lot so far, and we are going to continue.
Poland is an excellent gateway to the European Union. There are many American companies that use Poland as their base, and from Poland they invest in other parts of the European Union. In eastern Poland, near a town called Rzeszów, there's a cluster of aviation businesses. Right now there's over 87 companies. We refer to it as Aviation Alley. And that really has become a hub for all aviation. Pratt & Whitney, United Technologies, Borg Warner, Sikorsky Helicopter, Bell Helicopter, they are all there. And the synergies of having them all there together has put Poland on the map in Europe as being the leader in aviation development.
More than 50 global players out of top 500 Fortune list placed their competitive centers in Poland. More and more often, Polish companies search for external markets, also those very far geographically. That's why our export is a real driving force for GDP growth. Last year, exports rose by 4%, but talking about those far markets, it was double-digit growth. For this year, there are predictions that for such markets like African, Latin American, Asian markets, the export will grow even more than 20% individually. The government supports companies entering new markets, and we not only emphasize and encourage companies, but also open doors for companies.
In Poland, we have what we call special economic zones, and there's 14 of them spread around Poland. And this is where local communities have set aside geographic areas that provide special grants or exemptions to taxes for foreign and domestic investors who are willing to make greenfield investments.
We have over 200 employees that are with us more than 10 years, so that means something that they feel connected to our company.
Majority of the global high-tech companies decided to set up their competency center in Poland. And so many competence centers were shifted from such countries like India to Poland, and they serve not only for Poland but for the region.
We bought the company where my finger is in 2006, and now this is not a projection, this is reality. But we believe it strongly, and one of the reasons that we shifted some production from the U.S. to Poland is a symbol of our confidence in what's going on in this plant. So we're all looking forward to Białystok, Warsaw, and other things that we're looking at, but it's a great story for us and for Poland as well.
Let's not forget that during one generation we changed the country from the communist regime country, grey, somewhere far in the north, poor country, to the 6th economy in Europe and the 20th economy in the world.
The local authorities focus on attracting their factory, attracting their company, attracting their call center. And they were talking about different locations within Poland, but they said the strength of that local entrepreneurial spirit within the local government was quite distinctive in helping them make a decision.
Competition in government is good too.
There's a competition among local authorities, that's right.
When you look at Europe, most countries now haven't yet reached the level of GDP from 2007. And we are like 15–18% over it. This explains the successful convergence. We attracted capital into manufacturing also, not only in supermarkets and real estate, which means that it builds a solid foundation for our export position. Why have we been resilient in the economy? Okay, balanced economic growth, floating exchange rate, no euro, stable current account balance, which is very important, and for all of you coming from financial sector, this is probably now key. Flexible labor market. I will say something pro and cons and sort of elaborate a bit on this. Well-capitalized banking sector, public investments, partly related to absorption of EU structural funds. What is the good macroeconomic policy? Is the one that minimizes standard deviation of inflation and output gap. So it keeps the economy on the same good track, low inflation, moderate but stable growth. You see a lot of short-term volatility, but the long-term stability. Poland is a structural importer of capital, or has been a structural importer of capital. As a matter of fact, foreign ownership of banks helps, and it helps growth also. But what we managed to do is to keep current account size of the current account under control. The recent slowdown produced a current account surplus for 2 consecutive quarters. And we may be surprised, due to all estimates, that for the whole 2013 our current account deficit may be close to 0. Poland has a very flexible labor market. It provides for price response, that is wage response to shocks rather than quantity response, unemployment. Polish wages are very flexible. We have well-qualified labor force and diversified structure of exports. And probably I would also add we have very, very decent macroeconomic policies that basically kept Polish economy clean of major imbalances. We see that the structure of imports is improving. Like 60% of our exports are either mid-tech or high-tech, not low-tech or labor-intensive anymore. Why? Not because of Inglot and the likes, but because more than 50% of our exports, it's also because of him, but 50% or more of our exports are parts of international value chains. And we are climbing laboriously in the ladder of those chains. Our exports are growing not due to the structure of our exports, both territorial and product structure, but due to the effectiveness of our exports. In recent years, Poland was by far, in all OECD countries, the biggest spender for infrastructure in the whole universe of OECD. And it was only one force due to the European, let's say, solidarity assistance. 3/4 was because of our share. As early as '91, we have openly declared we want to integrate with the European Union. This was a massive change in the approach of Polish politics towards everything. European Union, for that matter, was not about money. Was about political know-how. The necessity to embrace so-called acquis communautaire was a revolution for Poland, which took 20 years. And now we are reaping the benefits of those massive structural changes. Poland has suffered from the location between Russia and Germany for ages. Now it's the best location. It's so easy for Polish business to go either west or east if there is a case in which foreign bank goes belly up. Or if it does not, but makes a sudden decision of selling its Polish subsidiary because of some other considerations. Then we should at least be open to a possibility of this bank being bought out by Polish capital. I venture to say that Poland is more stable than most European countries. But before I say this, I sing a praise for foreign investors in Polish banking sector. And this is sincere, and this is true, this is fair. No foreign bank has ever dropped business in Poland. Should we just look by and see how the main Polish assets are being exchanged hands between this bank and that? No serious country would allow this. And we are a serious country. We had a very solid policies. Macroeconomic policy was good. Even if we are now in the wake of all the discussions about pension reforms and, complications with this, we are not over-leveraged. If you add up public and private debt in Poland, it's among the lowest in Europe. We have inflation and under control and stable currency. Come on, what else do you wish?
What else do you wish for is indeed a good question to ask. With economic and political stability, skilled labor, educated professionals, and a large domestic market, Poland remains a safe haven for foreign investors.